all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know the baddest dudes in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and pedigree of success. Bauer, a family-friendly company who reminds you, go Big Red!
Are you a skilled mechanic looking for your next opportunity? Nebco is hiring. They're looking for experienced mechanics to join our family-owned team. They offer competitive wages, great benefits, service trucks, OEM-level diagnostic software, and career growth opportunities. Apply today at nebco.com. Positions include lead and A-level mechanics for the Nebco shop. Learn more at nebco.com. If you're driven and ready to grow with a company that's been around since 1908, apply today at nebco.com.
MHC isn't new, just a new name. Moe's Moving is now Moe's Home and Commercial. Whether moving across town or across the state, MHC Moving has you covered, specializing in home, apartment, assisted, and independent living moves. MHC can also handle your commercial moves as well. There's never fees on trucks, stairs, elevators, long carry, and last-minute booking, and no trip or fuel charges. Also no upcharge on weekends, and they do offer payment plans through PayPal. Call MHC Moving today at 402-853-7167 or go to mhcmoving.com.
Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, welcome to Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in. More Ticket Weeknights coming your way. Harrison Arens, I'll take this hour solo here before we get to some of the best of Ticket. Well, just best of all the Ticket, not just the best of Ticket Weeknights, from the day shows to the weekend shows to the nighttime shows. What's the ever is the best? That's what we'll play for you guys on those replays. And again, you can watch those replays, Facebook, YouTube, X, and of course, Allo Cable Channel 961. Shout out to Allo Cable. Always making sure we got access for our cable listeners as well. We still got the Hall of Fame game going on right now. Last time I checked, it was halftime. Give you another score update right now. And of course, this game between the Chargers and Lions, and Chargers were leading it last. If I can actually pull up the score. All right, Chargers versus Lions, 24-7. There we go. And it is currently about 2 minutes left to go. 3 minutes left to go in the third quarter. Actually 27-7 now, as it looks like the Chargers just put up three. Quick start for the Chargers, 14-0 in the first quarter. Second quarter, they tie it up 7-7. And then, of course, the Lions still down by 2 scores at that point, down 14. And then the third quarter, a couple of field goals by the Chargers. They 6-0. So Lions got a long ways to go. Obviously, preseason game, so you're not sweating too much about it. But there's a quick score update. And on the bright side, that is the official start of the National Football League. You got preseason. Yes, we all know a Hall of Fame game. But even the preseason is interesting. You at least get a couple quarters of some of your favorite quarterbacks. And then, you know, if you're the sickos of the world like myself, I'll go watch Tyson Bagent for the Chicago Bears play in these preseason games and then hope to go undefeated. With that being said, we're not going to talk NFL. I want to continue with the Husker football conversation as we still got tons of audio quotes. We didn't really get to a ton of them. We talked a lot of women's sports with Jeffrey and Ellie from 7 to 8. And then, of course, if you're listening to the last hour, me and Jeffrey just couldn't help to interject and really break down every audio quote that we heard. So with that being said, we're going to play some more. I'll give my thoughts on it, try to be a little bit quicker on them, and then we'll go into some broad picture stuff, in particular with the special teams. You got some big claims from guys like Ja'Cory Barney Jr., stuff that you love to hear, stuff that maybe reminds you of guys like the Marnie Pearsonell. But before we get there, let's go back to Holgorsen, because he had some stuff on Dylan Raiola, and we didn't talk about it yet, but here's Dana Holgorsen on how can Dylan Raiola elevate in this current fall camp.
Keep controlling the game. You know, I've said this before, his football knowledge is advanced. And so we're putting a lot of things on him, from, you know, going to the line of scrimmage and looking and seeing what's going on and getting us in the best play. Okay. And he can do that at a very high level. So the leadership stuff, that's been awesome. The conditioning has been awesome. His rapport with people is awesome. The timing with the receivers is getting better, but managing the offense and getting us into the right play is what I'm looking at, and he's doing a great job of it. And I keep giving him situation after situation after situation within just a play, not the situation in the game, but just within the play, to where he's got to look and read defenses and get us into a better place if he can, which will make us better, make us more efficient if he can continue to get better at that.
So you have it pretty obvious right there. You're not going to hear Dana Holgorsen start bashing his quarterback, but he pointed out the obvious. Like he's going to just keep putting him in tougher situations, really challenge him. If you're going to compliment this guy being a high IQ football genius. Now, they didn't use the word genius, but you're going to compliment his IQ all the time. It's good that you're going to push him and utilize that strength that he has and don't dumb things down. If he's capable of understanding it, yeah, give it to him. If you trust him, as long as you don't get to the point where you're overcomplicating things, which, again, if you look at last season, I think that's where we got. And you got more quotes from Dana Holgorsen. Like, that was the first thing that he really pointed out when he got here last year. He's first thing when we went from the transition to Satterfield to Dana Holgorsen. Dana Holgorsen, paraphrasing here, not word for word, but basically said they had a binder. He just wanted everything on one sheet of paper. Give me one sheet of paper of plays that I know we can execute and execute well and execute consistently. And that was really just the difference. Like, let me get to the basics here. And then all of a sudden you saw the run game start to have much better success. Emmett Johnson, became the bell cow, for lack of better words. It wasn't just all Emmett Johnson. We were still in the mode of throwing in Dante Dowdell and, of course, Ramir Johnson, lightning in a bottle. He obviously had that just a really awesome moment, if everybody remembers watching it, in the Bad Boy Mowers Bowl game, playing Boston College back there, I believe around family, where he's originally from. And he had an awesome game. He was big in that for us. So it wasn't just all Emmett Johnson once Dana Holgorsen took over, but it was an uptick in Emmett Johnson's consistency. Like, you felt like, okay, whatever it is on the spread, that Emmett Johnson at the very least is probably going to get 15, 18 touches. That's good. That's what you've been begging for, especially when you look at all the games that he was playing in. He was always good. There was no reason to ever really pull Emmett Johnson out of the mix as much as he was. Even last year, the game where Emmett Johnson kind of went under the rug was after UNI. Dante Dowdell had a good game, really solid running game. But so did Emmett Johnson at the very end of garbage time. It was garbage time, sure, but you saw that, like, Emmett Johnson was still competing tooth and nail for that job. And if you just go by, average yards per carry, Emmett Johnson was actually the better back in that game versus UNI. Now, he had some electric runs that definitely helped seal that. But it all just kind of goes back to never fully understood why we moved away from Emmett Johnson as much as we did. But then you credit Dana Holgorsen for, again, once he came over here, air raid guy, supposedly. Well, the air raid guy fixed the run game. The offensive line felt like it was blocking better. And then we were still passing more with Dylan Raiola. Wasn't super significant. It wasn't like we were dropping back every time, but we were looking at it before in the Satterfield era, maybe 25, 28, 30, kind of at the high mark, how many passes Dylan was going to throw a game. When Dana Holgorsen took over, you wouldn't necessarily be surprised if Dylan dropped back and threw it 40 times in a game. So there are some subtle changes, but I don't want to get people too lost in that air raid offense. So a lot of coach speak there from Dana Holgorsen, and I understand that in that minute spiel about what Dylan Raiola needs to work on in this fall camp. But the biggest thing is just going to be his IQ, his leadership. Going full circle with Emmett Johnson, some of Dylan Raiola's best plays last year were just using the check down that was available. And versus USC, that check down was Emmett Johnson, and Emmett Johnson, I believe, ran it for 25 plus yards down the sideline, found the seam, and was able to punch it in. Like, it's just simple stuff like that, where you just need Dylan Raiola more comfortable, more sure of where those checkdowns are. You're not asking him to be a superhero quarterback. Now, you already know he's got the arm angles. He's got the arm, what do I want to say here? The arm power, the strength. It's just consistency, which I think for him was more confidence than anything else. Because you were seeing passes that were picked off. not because the pass was so far off, but because like I just felt like Dylan Raiola didn't see the guy. So if you can just fix that IQ stuff, get him more comfortable. Yeah, I go back to that UCLA game. You start that second half off, throw a pick straight to a UCLA defender, that linebacker who wasn't doing any tricks, who wasn't trying to sneak up last moment. Now he did kind of creep, but it wasn't like an intentional scheme. Dylan Raiola just didn't see it. And the IQ wasn't there on that one play. And when you're playing at the Power 4 level, even if it's UCLA, who I understand we lost, but heading into it, I think most people are like, oh, UCLA should be maybe not an easy win, but should be a win nonetheless. One bad play like that, especially to start a second half, you put UCLA in scoring position right away. And that's, again, I don't think Dylan Raiola can't throw the ball accurately. I think the problem more for him last year was just confidence and unsure. I mean, we heard about Satterfield, not saying he was a bad offensive coordinator, but maybe it was just too much for Dylan Raiola that early on. Like, he's got a great IQ. And as I was saying with Dana, like, it's great to push them, but you don't want to get to the point where it's so overcomplicated that your quarterback, who should have, a few things in his mind when he drops back to throw, he's going through the entire playbook every time he drops back. Now, if you can do that, great, but most often than not, you're going to end up second guessing. Just he needs to know the few things that he has to keep an eye on when he sees this defensive front, or when he scouts this team going ahead. What do they like to do? And I think it will happen. I don't think that's, again, an all Satterfield issue. That's a true freshman quarterback. You got to be careful about not overloading him, because even if he can understand everything, sometimes you still want to be pretty simple stuff. So you can build up that confidence and work on those really 5, 10, 15-yard throws, and then maybe start taking some deeper shots. Because we saw a lot of deep shots from Dylan Raiola, even during the Satterfield era. Not a lot of completions, though. Really wasn't. A lot of flags, a lot of pass interference penalties that were great. They moved Nebraska up the field, but again, you weren't seeing a super accurate Dylan Raiola, and he has the talent, the arm talent to get it where he wants to. And he was just struggling a little bit on how to get those touch passes in there, to drop it in the bucket, for lack of better words. He did a good job, getting it over the top and not underthrowing it, but there was a lot of times where it was just too much. And that Ohio State game, he had a moment like that where it was wide open and he just put too much muscle on it. And that to me is just confidence. Like, that's a feel throw. That's one that when you're playing good and you're a quarterback of his capability who's thrown that ball 100 times before, just to be able to feel out that team chemistry, where your receiver is going to be at, how far you need to throw it. And again, that's where you can blame Satterfield all you want, but that's just a true freshman quarterback who I think had to get through some growing pains. You can talk about a lot of the other aspects and criticize Satterfield, but at the end of the day, I am, along with most, I would imagine, glad that he's still on this Husker staff. Maybe it wasn't working out at the offensive coordinator, but we talked about the tight end room in the last hour and how good that tight end room can be. Again, guys like Carter Nelson. You lost Mac Markway, which is brutal. Probably more for him than definitely any of us. Like, he just injury prone early on in his career at the college level, just hasn't been able to stay healthy. But you look at that tight end room as a whole, despite him being out, you still got Harburg, who's a little bit of a unique player. He's not going to be like Warren probably was with the Penn State. Like, he's definitely not going to have that much of a usage where they're putting him at wide receiver, putting him at running back, wherever they can find him, they'll put him in there. He's not going to be Penn State's Tyler Warren last year, but what he can be, I think, and maybe it's a reach, is somewhat of like a Tim Tebow. Different role. I mean, he's going to be playing tight end. He's not going to be playing at that quarterback, but the mindset's still kind of the same. Like, where if you get to the goal line, and especially if you've been lining Hoiberg up at that tight end position a lot, you can get kind of cute, have some sort of wildcat, 2 quarterbacks in the backfield, or just have Harburg in the backfield, to where most likely is he going to take off and run like he did last year. I believe it was versus USC. Most likely, yeah, he's going to take off and run, but he does still play quarterback for a long time. And if there's a guy wide open 5 yards away, he's probably going to be able to deliver that. So you have to still respect him just enough, even though you're more than likely they're going to try to run the ball with Harburg in some sort of fashion, or they're going to fake with Harburg and they're going to actually hand it off to Emmett Johnson or Eyes or whoever the running back is, whoever we start to favor in those goal line situations come fall. It's just another element where you have to respect them. So that's what I mean by like that Tim Tebow role, where Tim Tebow's role was, I am just going to go run it straight down your throat. And there was little to no guessing he was going to run, but you still saw that where they had to respect it just enough to make it a little bit easier for Tim Tebow to go ahead and run in there. Although I don't think I can actually remember any times he was dropping back and throwing it in those goal line situations. But I think that's just kind of the same mind games and advantages you get with Harburg. Now, the question is Harburg actually up to it? You're seeing the Husker media, the clips of him out there. The workouts always look great. You know, you can watch Husker football players in the weight room and watch those highlight videos come out every year and think the team's going to go undefeated. They're there to get you hyped. Like, it's exactly what it's for. So it's exciting to see Harburg out there. But again, like all Husker fans, I don't think I'm alone in where I want to be optimistic, but I have to verify it. I don't have to verify it out of stinginess. I have to verify it because you've burned me way too many times before. And when you work for a Lincoln Sports radio station, people want to ask you how you think about the Husker football team. And I'd be lying to you if I said I didn't add a few times. Also drink the Kool-Aid and have maybe too high of expectations based on what was really there. And, you know, that goes to those hype videos they put preseason to get you excited, and rightfully so. But we're all at a point, I think, we have to see it on a Saturday before we fully just echo those beliefs to all our friends and families in absolute certainty about this football program. Not trying to bash on Matt Rule. I do love the hire. I do think this is the direction that we need to go. But again, we just got a point where we got to verify it. We'll play one more here from Holgerson before we switch over to our first break. Here's just him talking about the days coming together for this fall camp.
Yeah, pretty much. You wear the same clothes. You have the same schedule. Regardless if you set your alarm, if it's a kind of a recovery day and you're not practicing, you're still up here early. And, you know, it's, yeah, they run together, but, you know, hopefully you get up and you make some progress, which, you know, going into day 5 tomorrow, I think that's been the case so far. So far, so good. It's still very early. I mean, 2 days in pads and full pads tomorrow. So, you know, every day we get out there, we'll learn a little bit more.
What has been your focus for this offense in the early stages of camp? What is it?
Yeah, I mean, the easy answer is everything, obviously, but it's installation. You know, we've, you know, as talk, my first day 1 meeting with the guys is like, you know, we've done a lot of football up until this point this year, you know, with our winter OTAs and spring football, summer OTAs, and now going into camp. So this is like the 4th time we've really installed it. Some guys were here in the spring. Some guys didn't get here until the summer. So, you know, individually, it might be their 2nd time, or, you know, it may be their 4th time, you know. We should really have a pretty good understanding of what to do, but it's still installation. You know, it's still installation, but there's a lot of technique stuff. I get irritated when guys don't know how to line up or they don't know their assignment. That really irritates me because we have installed it 4 times, right? So at this point, it should be more about, you know, proper technique and getting into, you know, making good decisions and starting to work on situations and then putting guys in position to be able to make plays, you know. And so it varies from player to player, just the overall aspect of it where, you know, just trying to figure out what the best lineup is and what we do best.
All right, so there you have it. Again, there's Dana Holgerson talking about just the fall camp, days running together a little bit. Anyone who's done fall camp, I don't care if it's at the high school level, like it's a grind. It's, you're waking up early, probably lifting or conditioning, and then playing some football. And then if your coaches are anything like my coaches, which I think just about all coaches across the country, and I don't blame them for it, you also condition in the afternoon. Despite them saying we'll do the conditioning in the morning, there's always a little bit, if not a lot, of more conditioning in that second practice. And then in between those practices, like you're trying to stay hydrated. You're just trying to get some fluids. Anybody who's been in the Lincoln area, when fall camp started, it was like 100 degrees out that day. And then it was 102 degrees out for the high the next day. And the humidity was at all times high for just this summer. It's always miserable around fall camp. It's a great time for coaches to get their guys in shape. No better way to get in shape than playing in the hottest days of the summer and the most humid days of the summer. You probably don't want 100 degrees, but that's what they got this year. So yeah, that part of the day is just running together. Totally understand. And again, I don't think you have to be a NFL player, coach, college level. If you played high school, heck, maybe even JV, like you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. 2 days, they're brutal for just about every level. But then he goes on talking about the things that frustrate him early on is just guys not knowing where to line up. Talking about we've gone through these installments about 4 times now, and that doesn't pain me to hear, like the stuff you expect to hear, but it's good to have Daniel Holgerson, like, once again, call stuff out at the podium. No, he didn't drop names or anything, but how many times do we see it with Scott Frost teams, Mike Riley teams, even Bo Pelini teams at times, right? Like, I'm not just going to beat up Scott Frost here. And Matt Rule early on, penalties. Nebraska lost so many games because of penalties as well. We always point to special teams. We always point to the unfortunate turnover. And it's like, what about the 10 yards for this penalty, or the 15 because we're holding there, or the pass interference, or illegal motion? The one part where we'll beat up on Scott Frost a little bit, if you want to have that much motion in the backfield, your guys better know what that looks like and how to do it legally, because we had a ton of that during the Scott Frost era. Illegal motion in the backfield, too many people on the line of scrimmage, not enough people on the line of scrimmage. That stuff will drive anybody insane, from the fan to the coach to the players. Nobody likes it. There's no place for it at that point in the season. So it is good to hear them call that stuff out, because it seems like a small thing, and then it'll be 3rd and 2 in a big moment. We're playing Michigan. We're at home. It's the 4th quarter. We're down by 3. We have an opportunity to extend this drive. Otherwise, we go home. You're about to snap the ball, and guess what? Someone has an illegal motion in the backfield. Someone's offside. You got an offensive lineman that jumped. Well, now it's 3 and 7 or 3 and 12, whatever, how severe that penalty is, whoever did what. That stuff happens way more than I think we like to even remember. And Donovan Raiola, the offensive line coach, deserves a ton of credit in that room as well for, honestly, it's been the best it's been for the offensive line in terms of penalties in a long time. We can complain about the offensive line in certain moments of games last year, but the one thing we could finally stop complaining about, to a degree, it still happens. Of course, it's not 100% perfect. We are not absolutely horrendous there anymore. I mean, it was to the point where it was anticipated that Nebraska is going to have, on the offensive line in particular, a couple flags every game where someone's going to hold or someone's going to jump off sides. That's gotten cleaned up much more just in the offensive line. And then Daniel Holgerson, again, just calling up the linemen, how people are lining up, making sure that's all in check. Great to hear, because that's the stuff that, you lose games that way. There's no great way to feel about it, because it's such a forced error. It's similar to the game of baseball. I mean, it's just a straight up error. You're better than that. You did what you weren't supposed to do. You lost track of your training. So with that being said, we got to throw the break here. We're a little bit over. We still got plenty of more quotes. We'll get through them. We got Shorts, wide receiver coach, position coach, and then, of course, a little more from Holgerson, the offensive coordinator, who took over late last year. Obviously, over the summer, we knew right away, let's sign him. And now, of course, we'll be the offensive coordinator for the 2025 season. So don't go anywhere. Harrison Arens going solo for this segment and a couple more after. I will talk to you guys on the other side.
Big box stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Again Sports is quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.
Have you been injured in an accident and don't know where to turn? You need an attorney you can trust to handle your case with professionalism and compassion. The attorneys at Liberty Law Group understand that a call to an attorney is a call for help. If you've been injured, we want to help you. Liberty Law's experienced attorneys are committed to the pursuit of justice for those injured. Call Liberty Law and find out how we can help you get the compensation you deserve. Call 877-42-LIBERTY. Call the trial attorneys you can trust. 877-42-LIBERTY.
Make bill paying a breeze with Text to Pay. LES texts you 1 week before your bill's due date. Just reply to the text to pay. It's that easy. Log into your account at les.com to sign up today.
Saturday. Eagle Raceway is open for a full season of dirt track racing action every Saturday night. Don't miss the epic battles on the high banks of Eagle Raceway each Saturday between the Nebraska Septic Sprint Cars, Nebraska Lottery Modifieds, Avid Realty Sport Mods, Valentino's Hobby Stocks, and A1 Iron Stock Cars. Let's go racing. Eagle Raceway, just 10 miles east of Lincoln on O Street. Check out the full schedule at eagleraceway.com.
This is James Harrell with NP Dodge Real Estate. When I became a licensed realtor, I wanted a brokerage that would help me grow in my new career. I found that in Lincoln First Realty. When Lincoln First was acquired by NP Dodge, the training and support I received only got better. I love knowing I have the power of the NP Dodge brand behind me. I would recommend NP Dodge to new agents looking to jumpstart their real estate career and to current agents who want to take their business to the next level.
Expand your career with NP Dodge. Call Eric at 402-434-2222.
When opportunity knocks, you don't want to miss the call. Hamilton Business Technologies makes communication easy and efficient using customized technology, all while putting people first. Whether you're working from the office, at home, or on the go, Hamilton Business Technologies equips your business with the right tools for smooth, professional call handling. Hamilton Business Technologies. Real people, real technology solutions. Learn more at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
Are you a skilled mechanic looking for your next opportunity? Nebco is hiring. They're looking for experienced mechanics to join our family-owned team. They offer competitive wages, great benefits, service trucks, OEM-level diagnostic software, and career growth opportunities. Apply today at nebco.com. Positions include lead and A-level mechanics for the Nebco shop. Learn more at nebco.com. If you're driven and ready to grow with a company that's been around since 1908, apply today at nebco.com.
When you were a kid, clubs were cool. Robotics club and space club and stuff like that. But what do adults get? Book clubs and quilting clubs? Nah, forget that. How about margarita clubs and old-fashioned clubs? Get to Upside Bar and Lounge for the best clubs in town. Try all 10 varieties of Upside margaritas or old fashions and take home a free souvenir glass. Grab the whole crew and pair it with taco night on Mondays or whiskey Wednesdays. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
MHC isn't new, just a new name. Mo's Moving is now Mo's Home and Commercial. Whether moving across town or across the state, MHC Moving has you covered. Specializing in home, apartments, assisted, and independent living moves. MHC can also handle your commercial moves as well. There's never fees on trucks, stairs, elevators, long carry, and last-minute booking, and no trip or fuel charges. Also no upcharge on weekends, and they do offer payment plans through PayPal. Call MHC Moving today at 402-853-7167 or go to mhcmoving.com.
Rico here with HIS Auto Care at 70th and Van Dorn, letting you know HIS is a great place to bring your vehicle for service. With superior service, bumper to bumper, we'll treat your vehicle like it's your mother's. Doesn't get any better than that. So call 402-488-8934 and HIS Auto will make you glad you did. 5% off, mention this ad, and for sure your mother will be proud you called. 402-488-8934, HIS Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
At Valentino's, we're on a mission for tradition. On every slice, for every bite. Golden baked crust, cooked to perfection every time. Savory sweet sauce that's made from our own secret recipe. Loaded with the perfect amount of fresh toppings and melty mozzarella cheese. It's the tradition that Nebraskans have come to love. From game day to every day. Valentino's. Taste the tradition.
Back to the Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, Harrison Arens still going solo on the ones and twos back here at the corner, 1040 O Street, 93.7 The Ticket. As always, another update, Hall of Fame game, 27-7, the Los Angeles Chargers leading over the Detroit Lions to officially kick off the National Football League with the annual Hall of Fame game. And then, of course, we'll be fully into preseason now, going forward with the NFL for the next foreseeable, I think it's 5 weeks? Maybe I'm wrong, maybe 4 weeks, but I think it's 5 weeks preseason NFL. We'll get to see all those matchups. And as I said before, if you're a sicko, you're down to watch the backup quarterbacks as well. And there's always those teams like the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns are going to be a preseason team because you just want to see, well, you got Dylan Gabriel. What does he look like? Obviously, Flacco, I think, is probably going to play the least, if maybe like a couple of snaps at most. He's by far the most veteran guy in there. And then Shedeur Sanders. Like, you're looking at Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, trying to match right now who looks like that more defined QB2. Or maybe it's Kenny Pickett, who's also down there as well, who has a chance to maybe be that guy, but I think they'll probably lean towards Dylan or Shedeur. So those preseason games like that are definitely always intriguing to listen into. If you go watch the Chiefs preseason or the Eagles preseason, not always as interesting. But like I said, we're not going to talk about NFL, at least not anymore, unless it's a little bit of a side tangent. We're going to continue on with Husker football. Got plenty of comments, wide receiver coach, shorts, and then obviously the offensive coordinator, Dana Holgorsen. Real quick, we'll get to a few more on for Dana Holgorsen. We'll talk about his competition amongst the QBs. We talked a lot about Dylan Raiola. Let's hear about the competition between QBs. We've heard lots of great stuff about Gramstead at that QB2 spot, not so much on the depth underneath him. Here's Dana Holgorsen on the QBs.
Yeah, they got a long ways to go. Jalen is Jalen. We know what he can do. He intellectually he's way up there. He can do everything that we're asking him to do. We know where he is right now based on being a 5th, 6th year guy or whatever it is. Basically it's TJ and Marcos. We're putting them in. It's just so new to them, but they were here in the spring. So where they're at now compared to where they're in the spring is encouraging. We're just going to keep putting them in those situations to see if they can handle it, so it's still a battle, and it's going to be a battle here for quite some time.
So there you have it. And that's why I threw out Gramstead right away, right? We knew him. We heard great things, and you get followed up by you get to those 5-6 year guys, especially if they're playing that quarterback position, especially if they've been at a few stops, they know how to pick up an offense. They're at that point logically to where maybe they call it a different thing, but you understand how those actions work. And then it just becomes a game of, okay, I just got to memorize the language. I know how this stuff works. I know what I'm supposed to be looking at. I know what my checkdowns are. Tweaks here and there. You get those guys to be understood. So that feels great that that your second string quarterback, at least that the coaches think that they got a guy they can absolutely trust. That if worst case scenario, if something happens to Dylan Raiola, they're not saying Gramsted's this electric elite talent, the best we've ever seen, but they're saying he can manage the game. If we run into a pinch, even if it's a series where Dylan needs to come out or Dylan Raiola's helmet comes flying off, he's got to come out for a play. You can put Gramstead in there and have very high expectations that he's not going to have a deer in headlights stare or a deer in headlights moment or fumble the snap. He seems solid. The other part that I mentioned, you haven't heard a bunch on the young guys, and you kind of heard it right there that you haven't heard a bunch because right now they're still pretty raw. Again, I think TJ Latif's going to be the big one most people are curious about. He was there for spring, as Dana mentioned, which is certainly going to help his progress in developing, but you're hearing that it sounds like those guys are pretty raw yet. So it feels great, and I think it really indicates why they made a big push. Let's go get a veteran in Gramstead. Let's make sure we have a guy who's got that leadership, because we got a bunch of young QBs in here, and we started Dylan Raiola as a true freshman, and we saw what that looks like. I think it was the right move. You start him, of course, but he looked like a true freshman. So taking Dylan out of the equation, we'll assume he'll look better. That's kind of what those guys are going through right now. TJ Latif, especially once you haven't caught the live bullets yet in action, I'd imagine it takes a little bit of time. He's going to need more reps in practice, and then he's going to need his, unfortunately, Dylan Raiola moments where you're going to have to make some mistakes on live action to really burn it in your memory. I can't do that because this will typically lead in this result, or it'll make the risk that much higher if I'm not reading things properly. So that's where you're at with the QB room. We'll get to some stuff from short. Actually, real quick before we do that, we got one more on Raiola, and since we're on the quarterbacks, we'll just quick play that. And it is a thing where you've seen Raiola talk about it. He looks like it in pictures, just more in shape. I'm not even going to say he went on a crazy diet, crazy workout. He's just maturing, right, as well. Getting older. He isn't fully grown into his body yet. Certainly wasn't as true freshman. So hopefully that plays dividends into his ability to not only take hits, absorb them if he needs to, but if he does need to take off and run, be a little bit better at the mobility, agility, and also if you do take a hit, have that muscle mass to where it's not going to be less risk of a major injury happening. So here's Holgorsen talking about Dylan Raiola's shape.
Well, I liked where it was in June. and he did a good job in June and July of maintaining what he's been doing. He didn't let that slip. He was here the whole time working hard and looks great. Physically he looks great. That's not going to change because of what his mindset is right now. My job is to work on what's going on upstairs.
So you have it. Sweet and short there, but I thought it was worth playing because I know it's a big area of concern. It's probably the number one things I heard about Husker fans when talking about Dylan Raiola was, man, I wish he would just run more. They weren't asking for him to run over 100 yards a game, not even 50, not even 20, just 5 or 10 when it was there to go pick up a first down or make it 3rd and 2, not 3rd and 10. Just small stuff like that where, again, if Dylan Raiola is in better shape, a little bit faster, a little bit quicker, a little bit more muscle mass, he can absorb hits better, he can fall forward, or just straight up run out of the sideline or take the slide. So quick sample there, but you do like to hear that, especially the part where, they liked the way he looked in June, and now we're all the way here, July 31st. Calendar is about to flip tomorrow, and it'll be August, and he hasn't slipped a beat, in their words. Let's go to shorts now. And let's talk about the wide receivers. We'll spend 5 minutes on this, go to break, and then we'll spend the next 5 minutes on this as well. Just the growth of the younger wide receivers in that wide receiver room.
Yeah, well, just, extremely proud of those guys for just taking that next step from winter to spring to summer to now, especially, Quinn and Keelan, those guys being here last year and then just trying to ramp them up and get going. But, it's a hard process. They're still young, but they work extremely hard. So anytime you got some guys that work hard, they're going to develop at a faster level. But, they take the coaching, they work hard. Nobody's perfect. They come out here and try to get better every day. And I think, that's been great for Jeremiah as well, because now he sees those guys, and Quinn's definitely a similar body type to him. And he's just, starting from ground up. So he's learning from them every day. He's putting, one foot in front of the other, and he's just working hard trying to get better.
All right, so there you have it. There's shorts on the growth of those younger wide receivers. Now let's hear shorts on Holgorsen, on how tough he is on those wide receivers.
Yeah, it's definitely an adjustment. Coach Holgorsen is pretty direct and demanding. He's hard on those guys at the receiver position. Obviously, he knows a lot about that position. He's coached it at the highest level. He's done it for a while, but it's been adjustment for our guys. But I think they're getting the hang of it. It's been a process every day. We work on, tempo, attack period. So just getting those guys to change their mindset and to change their urgency as we go. Now, once we move forward, that should become the normal. So it should be like secondhand nature by the time we get going.
So you have it. Just like you're hearing a lot of stuff on Dana Holgorsen, and that guy, to all his credit, seems genuine in the best way possible. I don't want a bunch of fluff. And I genuinely think most people are like this. Even if it sucks, I think most people just want to hear it. Now, you can phrase it in a certain way to make it sound better, but people want to know the truth. And even at the podium, Holgorsen seems like that guy. And then you hear Shorts, just talking about it, that it's not just coach speak up there at the podium. Like, Holgorsen's hard on those guys. Again, he's kind of said it himself. He gets on them about those alignments in particular. There's things that are totally controllable that at this point in camp, you should just know, especially if you're there for some of that spring stuff. You should have a pretty good idea on where you need to be. And then, of course, now you're hearing it from Shorts as well. Just he is definitely holding those guys accountable, according to Holgorsen himself, and then according to Shorts. And then, of course, Matt Rules hinted at it many times about the respect level he has for Holgorsen and his coaching ability. And again, he's been a head coach before. He's had great offenses. Defenses you can talk about, but he's not coaching the defense. He's coaching the offense. And his resume says he absolutely knows how to do that. So it's hard to argue with a guy who's demanding a lot, who's had a lot of success, and what he's trying to coach you in. So there's those quick comments there. We'll get more from Shorts on the other side. We're going to throw it to our final break here, at least for this hour right here. Harrison Arens going solo. We still got one more segment. Don't go anywhere. 93.7 The Ticket.
MHC isn't new, just a new name. Mo's Moving is now Mo's Home and Commercial. Whether moving across town or across the state, MHC Moving has you covered. Specializing in home, apartment, assisted, and independent living moves. MHC can also handle your commercial moves as well. There's never fees on trucks, stairs, elevators, long carry, and last-minute booking, and no trip or fuel charges. Also no upcharge on weekends, and they do offer payment plans through PayPal. Call MHC Moving today at 402-853-7167 or go to mhcmoving.com.
A lot of businesses say they're family focused, but when tough situations in life arise, the business wants anything but your best interests. James Enterprise Incorporated is hiring, and they will always treat their employees like family, just as they do their customers. James Enterprise Incorporated is hiring Class A and B CDL drivers, a shop tech, and a diesel mechanic. If you're looking for a career with a company that goes above and beyond to value you and your family, apply today at jamesenterpriseinc.com or call 402-432-6740.
We interrupt this commercial break for an important story.
There once was a man from Nebraska who went searching for food in Alaska. When his stomach was rumbling while laying in bed, he could think of only one option, Führer's cheese spread. So he left it once and drove day and night to return back home for cheese spread delight. Now his stomach is full and the voice in his head tells him no more vacations without Führer's cheese spread. Find yours today at most local grocers.
Rosie's Sports Bar and Grill, open for lunch and dinner at 1501 Center Park Road, just south of 14th and Highway 2. Attention all Wings fans, Buffalo Wings and Rings has daily specials that will make you want to stop in on all days of the week. Kids eat free on Mondays, and on Tuesdays enjoy 40% off boneless or traditional wings at a price that makes the whole family happy. And come back on Wednesdays for $1.39 chicken tenders all day long. Get to Wings and Rings today, 68th and O or in Williamsburg Village.
Life changes, and sometimes that means changing where you call home. Whether you're downsizing, growing your family, relocating, or facing tough times, you shouldn't navigate it alone. I'm Laura Bonta-Bush with Woods Bros Realty, and I'm here to guide you with all your real estate needs. As wife of football coach Bill Bush, I understand the importance of teamwork and making sure you are supported every step of the way with honesty, integrity, and compassion. If you're looking for a game plan to buy or sell your home, text or call me at 402-525-0843. That's 402-525-0843.
Attorney CPA Joe Cordell.
Hopefully you and I agree that you should do everything you can to save your marriage. Divorce is hard, expensive, and its outcome is usually not all you hope for. However, when doing everything has failed, when divorce remains as your last option, consider Cordell & Cordell as your first choice to help you through the divorce process to a better place on the other side. We've been a partner men can count on for more than 30 years. Let us be that partner for you.
The attorneys at Cordell & Cordell work to help men maximize their role in their children's lives. Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Lincoln area attorneys, a partner men can count on. 402-858-3220. That's 402-858-3220. Online at CordellCordell.com. That's CordellCordell.com. Office in downtown Lincoln. 1221 N Street, Suite 801, Lincoln, Nebraska 68508.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Prashawn Jackson here for Bauer Underground, who has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know the baddest dudes in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and pedigree of success. Bauer, a family-friendly company who reminds you, go Big Red!
Are you a skilled mechanic looking for your next opportunity? Nebco is hiring. They're looking for experienced mechanics to join our family-owned team. They offer competitive wages, great benefits, service trucks, OEM-level diagnostic software, and career growth opportunities. Apply today at nebco.com. Positions include lead and A-level mechanics for the Nebco shop. Learn more at nebco.com. If you're driven and ready to grow with a company that's been around since 1908, apply today at nebco.com.
Back to the Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in. Final segment here solo with me, Harrison Arens, for Ticket Weeknights. We're going to wrap up here talking about Jacory Barney Jr. because he's had some big claims. He put it out there that he wants to, I believe, let me double check here, top punt returner in the nation. So that was his goal. So Jacory Barney Jr. wants to become the top punt returner in the nation, which is fantastic. I mentioned at the very beginning, anytime you hear that, at least for me, again, born in 99, I hear stuff like that. I'm like, another DeMornay Pierce now would be just absolutely fantastic. Also a Chicago Bears fan. So I think of guys like Devin Hester. And again, if you can get a guy at that position who's going to take that position and actually make it a threat, not just a, hey, if we're lucky, no, a part of the game to where when teams go to kick off or they go to punt, they're legitimately scared. They're not thinking about anything other than we have to lock in on this play because there is 10, 20, worst case scenario, 6 points that we might give up if we are not all on the same page. And Ja'Cory Barney, I mean, he's got the speed to do that. Now, the hard part of that is I don't even know what you'd call it. Ego, fearlessness. You have to have just some real heart to be able to take some of those punts and not go for the fair catch right away and trust your instincts and take off and run with it and make that first guy miss. DeMornay Piersonell was incredible at it. Same thing with Devin Hester. It's a thing that you don't really like asking your players to do unless they want to do it themselves. Because if you feel like you start asking your players to, really start to look for those and try to deny the fair catch, if they don't have the confidence, I mean, that's a muffed punt. And we've seen what that looks like over here. Some guys they're just able to do it. Again, you think of DeMornay Piersonell, Iowa is always the one that sticks out to me. Not because it was the most athletic looking run he's had, although don't get me wrong, phenomenal run, still a great highlight. It was making that first guy miss. I mean, right in his face, coming downhill, to be able to keep your eye on the ball, catch it, and just quickly step aside and make that guy fly right past you. If you want an electric play, that's how you do it. But again, that takes a unique type of confidence in just confidence in the best way. Again, I don't mean it in an egomaniac way, but you just need to be absolutely sure that you are 100% confident in your abilities if you're going to be the best returner in the nation, whether that's punt return or kick return. If you want to be DeMornay Piersonell and average over 10 yards per punt return, that's what it takes. It doesn't seem like a big number, but if you're averaging over 10, again, take into all the times where they do have to take a fair catch or they try to make a move and it only goes for 2 yards and they fall forward. That means you got some 50, 60, 70 yards in there where you ran it all the way back for a touchdown. And if you get stupid with it, like Devin Hester was, 17 in a single season. 17 yards is unreal. And that's why Devin Hester is just a unanimous man when it comes to talking about special teams, because that's damn near broken if you're able to do that. And I won't go on the spiel, but again, that's why I'm a huge Bears fan. I was watching Jay Cutler, falling in love with that team, and then to go to the 06 Super Bowl. Of course, Devin Hester, best part about that entire Super Bowl for the Bears was that opening kickoff. And just remembering that Devin Hester kick return all the way back for a touchdown versus the Colts. But with that being said, that's why it's great to hear a guy like Ja'Cory Barney say that. And I do believe we have some quotes from Shorts as well on Ja'Cory Barney Jr. and just his mental growth. So here's Shorts on Ja'Cory Barney Jr.'s mental growth.
Mentally, he's just matured a lot. Obviously Ja'Cory was, a good player last year. He played early as a freshman. So, it's hard, that next year when you play early as a freshman, because when you play, you're just playing on pure talent. You don't really know what you're doing yet. So now the spring, he worked on a lot of technical stuff as far as technique within the position. And I think there were some growing pains in the spring for him there. So you can see kind of that frustration, but he's worked extremely hard over the summer. And I'll tell you what, he's playing pretty fast right now. I'm really happy with him. He's just got to continue to develop. He's still young. I think he's going to be just fine.
So yeah, some words of confidence right there. And because he was a big guy last year who, even in the running game was a big time threat. And you get what Shorts is saying there. It's man, when you're just that good of an athlete, you don't necessarily need to know everything. We're going to figure out a way to get what we can out of you because you're too good of an athlete for us not to draw something up. Even if it's hey, here's all you need to do. Don't worry about anything else, which times maybe that's all it was last year for Ja'Cory Barney Jr. Fine enough. You're a great enough athlete. We trust you to go get the yards. And he would. But if he can get to that understanding part of his game where he's got a high IQ level with it as well, then this guy, that's when he becomes incredibly dangerous. And then I think that's where Shorts is leading. He's happy with him, but just wants to continue to see that understanding of the game and for him more of just the mental growth because he's going to have that athleticism as long as he stays healthy, as long as he takes care of his body appropriately. he's going to be that freak athlete. It's what can you add on to that now to become a highly skilled freak athlete? Because when you get to the NFL, they're all athletes. You're not going to hold down any job unless you're a generational type athlete. Even then, it's going to be hard for you to do. So again, that's not just for him at Nebraska. If he wants to have that NFL career, that's what's going to take. You got to have that incredible skills along with the athleticism. I want to talk about skills, just the X's and O's, the stuff that you got to practice, and just drills, monotonous drills over and over and over again. And it sounds like Ja'Cory Barney Jr. was doing what he needed to during the offseason and has been during this fall camp. So far, you haven't heard anything bad. The worst thing, Mac Markway out with the injury, and you just feel for that kid, has just been very injury prone. But everything else you're hearing so far seems like everything's on track. Hopefully that means a good Husker football season, but we still got about 27 days till we get there. So with that being said, appreciate you guys listening. As always, this is my weekend. Thursday is my last day here till I'm back here Sunday morning. So until then, I'll talk to you Sunday morning, but otherwise we'll have some replays for you guys right here on 93.7 The Ticket, ticketfm.com.